Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm joined on this video by a very special guest, this plant. But it's not really a plant, it's really Rose!
Hi!
And today we're going to be talking about the Thanksgiving calamity that is happening in the United States. I am a Canadian observer looking at it from the outside, and this whole thing has baffled me, and so I brought in a special guest who is American, who might be able to shed some light on this whole thing. You see, the other week, during Thanksgiving, Rose wanted to watch the parade. Mm. And why, again, did you want to watch the parade?
Because I like the balloons. I like the balloons.
That was pretty much it. It was
yeah.
like, but Pikachu. And I was like, oh, yeah. Okay, well, if there's a Pikachu balloon.
And there was a Goku.
There was a Goku.
And a One Piece guy.
Monkey D. Luffy.
Yeah, him.
Yeah, and some Stranger Things. Although that one wasn't a balloon.
What was the Stranger Things thing?
There was a Stranger Things thing.
What was the Stranger Things thing?
It was a box with a Demigorgon in it or something.
Okay, I watched all 3 hours of this thing. I do not remember the Stranger Things thing.
Hold on, I'll show you.
Oh! That's right. Yeah. Okay, no,
So,
you're totally right, and your memory is better than mine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But besides that, the entirety of the whole thing, like I ended up tuning in and I was just going to let her watch and be like, all right, I'll see.
He's madly taking notes behind me of everything wrong with my favorite parade of the year.
I'm like, I'll see you in a couple hours. And I was going to go read a book on China's super psychics or whatever. And then no, I was just like, well, let's just poke my nose in this room and see. And then the next thing you know, I'm.
He was immediately enchanted by everything American culture and wants to defect.
That's absolutely not true. But I literally made this list and I was like, I can't tell. I'm like kind of horrified by what I'm seeing.
He's being so sweet about it too, like not trying to interrupt my nostalgic childhood moment.
True. And I made a T-chart of like, okay, here's the positives and then here's the negatives. As you can see, the negatives were a lot longer than the positives, and eventually I just gave up. This could have been a much bigger list. We kind of ended up settling on, there's some things to talk about.
It's alarming.
Yeah. The first thing that we noticed and that you called out was like, holy crap, this is a lot of pollution. Like a lot, like an insane amount of confetti and other things that ended up just like destroying New York streets for a day. We actually saw this on the news. I looked it up the next day just to see, what was in the news. And the top article was, naughty Macy's Thanksgiving parade partiers fill streets with 41.5 tons of trash, equivalent to a large humpback whale.
It just blows my mind. Like 41.5 tons. Like, I know there's, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people out there. But it wasn't just the confetti. It was also like coffee cups and donut boxes and people leaving stuff behind.
Clothing.
Yeah.
The article specified that like people just leave extra layers of clothing. Like they bring their jacket and then they're just like, I don't need this right now. And they just leave it in the street. I'm sorry, what is your culture?
So here's the problem. Like, just like for me personally, I have been slowly pulling myself away from American culture and just being more and more like, wow, this is not the way that I want to live my life. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So just to be clear, I'm not actually like pro-America or anything like that.
You're not a patriot?
I mean, I used to be when I was a kid and brainwashed and didn't know any better. I actually, I did Girl Scouts, and in elementary school, I actually raised the flag for the school every day. I was the flag girl and like actually really loved the American flag, and I like had them all in my room and was all about it. And then my brain fused and I realized that what's actually going on, and just the way that the rest of the world really perceives American culture. I think it's the military state presence, which is not at all what this video is about, but I just wanted to say, mostly apologizing for my culture is how I'm feeling about it right now. Anyway, but Canadian Thanksgiving is in October.
It's in October, and it's generally a celebration of harvest is where it came from. There was a celebration around that, and that's why it's earlier. But I still every year get friends of mine in the States saying, hey, happy Thanksgiving. And I'm kind of both like, yeah. And then also just being like really conflicted because I look at the story of where Thanksgiving came from and how it's celebrated now, and how the Macy's Day Parade or Macy's Thanksgiving Parade,
You said it.
You introduced it as a concept.
I know.
Which we need to
But even
talk
just
about.
the way that you said that.
Yeah, that parade kind of kicks off the shopping season, and then Black Friday emerged from that, and it just became this giant like gold rush of like sales and marketing, and it has capitalized on something that could be
really beautiful
and really good. But like, look at this. We opened up a ChatGPT window here, and we're just asking about like, what's the real no fluff origin of Thanksgiving?
Because the story that we're raised with anyway is, you know, in elementary school when you're stupid. In elementary school, the story that we're told is that the Pilgrims came over. This is gonna be drunk history. The Pilgrims came over in their big old sailing ships, and they landed, and it was a really hard first year because they did not have any farmland. They didn't know how to farm. They were like, you know, northeastern of the United States where it's really cold and crazy, and they didn't have any food, and it was really rough. And then the story that we're told, after that first year, the native people came and taught them how to like use the land and to farm, and they were bringing like food and blankets and all of these things to help them survive. And then that first Thanksgiving was like a celebration of everything that the native people had done to help them, and it was this beautiful long table harvest celebration with all of the food and thanks and gratitude and all of these things, and that it became like this regular annual celebration of friendship. And of course we all know what happened after that, but that literally never happened,
and it's just a story.
Yeah,
right. So we opened up this window and asked ChatGPT, give us the story, like what really happened. And look at this. There was a 1621 harvest gathering in Plymouth. Plymouth? Am I saying this one? Wampanoag people?
I think so.
Okay. Were present, but it wasn't a sacred annual celebration. It wasn't called Thanksgiving. They weren't even invited as honored guests. They arrived because they heard gunfire and thought the English might be preparing for war. There's no turkey, no pumpkin pie. That whole aesthetic was fabricated by later writers. And then the early Thanksgiving days were usually about violence. This is horrifying. It says, before the Pilgrim's 1621 meal became the symbolic story, colonists used days of Thanksgiving to celebrate successful massacres of native people. Moment of silence.
Yeah,
I don't know what to say about that. Disease, land theft, and political collapse, the real context. When the Pilgrims arrived, up to 90% of the local indigenous population had already died from European diseases that spread ahead of settlement, and the Wampanoag were dealing with destabilization, famine, and tribal pressures from rivals. So like they were invited one time, not really invited. They just sort of showed up, and I guess the tensions weren't high that day, and up to 70 natives joined for a meal. And then like this whole story became developed after that as like a nice version of it instead of what really happened. I don't even know what to say about it. It's not great. That's not good.
Yeah, I mean, it's the tendency of culture, as culture does, to try and make historical roots softer or less horrifying or just...
Right. And while all of that is happening, this is also something that stands out, is that, you know, everyone's celebrating on Thanksgiving, and for many native communities, Thanksgiving is a day of mourning and a reminder of genocide, cultural erasure, and colonization. And it's really like a symbol of how America rewrites its own past.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is just like how America has this tendency to, and not even just America, but many holidays have been repurposed and or stolen flat out from other cultures. The Christian history with holidays is actually from, you know, Druidic, Celtic,
pagan roots, yeah.
Pagan roots, and this recreation of it's just gross.
Right. There's a lot of elements and aspects of this, and now let's go back to that Macy's Thanksgiving Day.
Macy.
Well, okay, so I've never watched the parade. I barely know anything about it. I barely even heard about it, you know, being in Canada. And you told me that in America, the day often for many people isn't even called Thanksgiving. People just call it Macy's Day.
Today's a Macy's Day Parade.
Well, in response to the parade. Like,
Right.
if they're talking about the parade specifically, like, the whole name is Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. But because that's a mouthful, it gets shortened to the Macy's Day Parade.
Mm-hmm.
Macy's Day Parade, which is...
So you've got these like layers and layers then, it looks like, or feels like, of you know, a story that is not a story disguised as something positive that then has like been hijacked by a corporation to sell things. It's like, how many layers deep do we need to go here before we get to the truth, and what would be a transformation of it into something that's genuinely, authentically positive and good?
Yeah.
And because it has so much momentum, like, there's no way, even if the people running Macy's saw this video, there is no way that they would cancel their giant money-making opportunity every year.
Right,
So it
and
just
that's
keeps-
what it is.
And it just keeps getting worse and worse. Like, you really need someone who's running the show at Macy's to have like a change of heart at the very least, and maybe like tweak or alter or revise the messaging and infuse it with some authentic goodness and not just being a commercial.
Right.
Because that's what we saw.
That's what we saw. I mean, growing up, you know, watching the parade, it used to be the commentators would talk about like the history of the balloon, or, you know, how many tons of helium it was filled with, or how many times this balloon had shown up in the parade, and how many people were carrying it, and things like that. But literally, like, the only thing they were saying was copy. It was just one 3-hour-long commercial broken up by other commercials.
Right.
And it was, I just felt like I was being marketed to the entire time, and I'm a marketer.
Understandable. But was there any good copy?
Not really. There were literally just like sound bites, and I think I even heard a couple of calls to action, like visit them at www.hollandcruises.com.
Right.
Whatever.
Well, and there were some really, really weird things too. I mean, just on the one hand, it was very clear that whoever wrote the copy, at least in some respect or for some of the floats or the offers or whatever, like they had no idea what they were really talking about. I was about to leave the room, or I think I had left the room, and she's like, "Oh, there's one that you're gonna like." And I was like, "What? Who's that? Or what's that?" And she's like, "It's Goku." I was like, "Oh, sweet. Okay, I'll take a look." And I walk in the room, and they say something like, "Here's Goku with his trademark black matte hair in his Saiyan form."
In his Saiyan form.
Okay, like I guess technically if you're relating that against his Super Saiyan, then yes, that's just... But like, first of all, is his hair trademarked?
It wasn't even his trademark hair. It was the fact that it was black matte.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trademark.
But then also, like, he is a Saiyan. Goku is a Saiyan, so no matter what form he's in, it's a Saiyan form. It's a
Nerd.
The copy was terrible.
You can at least say it right.
I just felt myself face palming 100 times during that section, and then pretty much the whole thing.
And then we weren't even sure if Pikachu was actually Pikachu.
They kept saying Pikachu, and like from one angle, it kind of looked like him, but it really looked more like a Pichu, at least from the bottom.
He was smaller, and he had the longer ears, whatever his little pointy things are.
Those are ears. So okay, but so here's the thing: with all of these brands and music performances showing up, which like is cool and nice, I suppose, there was also some very, very disturbing pairings and like choices of music merged with different brands that just absolutely did not fit together, and themes that are just not kid appropriate.
Yeah.
The one that stands out to me is the Lego one, where Lego was paired with this singer who was singing about getting down and dirty in an elevator.
Lego.
And like, yeah, this is what we want to associate Lego with. And then you were noticing some rappers or something with like Toys R Us.
Yeah, the Toys R Us float featured Lil Jon, and the song "Turn Down for What." Which, like, I don't really actually know what that song is about, but given that it's Lil Jon, I can't imagine it was particularly wholesome or appropriate for a Toys R Us float.
That's the kid store brand. Like,
Yeah.
that's where you go to get toys for kids.
Turn down for toys!
It's like the level of desensitization
Yeah,
for violence and for sex and everything is just like, how low can we go?
That's a different song.
I
I don't think Get Low was featured.
It's weird, right?
No, it's totally weird. And it's really tone deaf too. Like anybody who is now, okay, the logistics of that parade have to be insane. I get it. But the intentional choice to pair Lil Jon on a Toys R Us float, and I don't even remember who the lady singer was singing the dirty song on the Lego float, but it's like, what are you doing? Pay attention. Like, what are you doing? The brands of food that are being represented, the representation of American culture in its form of food, like Jenny O and Green Giant, and
it's just the worst food.
It's just the worst
It's
food.
the worst food.
None of it is organic. All of it is grown terribly and monocultural. It's just the absolute most disgusting brand.
It's like Monsanto's underlying the entire thing, probably just like carrying the parade, and they're like, "What? Who can we put up here to put an image of it?"
Is that the real conspiracy? Is that Monsanto actually owns the Macy's Day Parade?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, I'm not a huge fan of Jeff Bezos and Amazon and everything. You'd think, he could bring Whole Foods into this or something, because he's got the Whole Foods organic, super healthy kind of, it is, what, gentrified organic culture a little bit. But like even that or presence of something like that would be great. Just moving in the direction of like, hey, maybe health. Maybe we can be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies and what we're pairing, with these different brands and putting more mindfulness into the connection between them. No, you're cementing and solidifying emotions and feelings and stories and family all together with these different things. And these were some really bad pairings. I mean, bottom line. The last big negative that we noticed that really stood out and was just appalling actually goes back to the very beginning of this video where we talked about the link to the Native Americans, because they actually did have a Native American performance in the show. And that we thought, when they first came up, it was like, oh, that's actually really great. Probably better that they're there than not there at all.
Right.
Especially given the story. This could be a time of really sharing some authentic Native American or indigenous traditions and beliefs and practices or something as a part of it all. That could be like the heart of the whole thing, is like the unity of that which came before and that which is here now. And it was horrible. I mean, not the performance.
No, the performance was beautiful.
It was beautiful, but like they barely introduced them.
They didn't say any. They said like 2 words about them.
They were like, "Here's a Native American group dancing,"
and they're gonna do a thing now.
That was it.
That was it.
Here is Native Pride Productions.
And then
not what tribe they're from, not any story that went along with the culture of the dance or what their costumes represented or anything at all. And then the way that it ends is just appalling.
Yeah, right. No, it's completely empty. And then they finish the dance and they're like, "Yay!" And you see like 2 seconds of the people clapping, and then it hard cuts to like this big truck.
Well, today's floats are being towed by Ram trucks.
Here's the next thing. And yeah, there's just nothing. Like, what did the dance represent? What was the meaning? What was the value of what we just saw? Because like they clearly put a lot of love and effort into it. I actually did wonder if there were maybe some divisiveness in various Native communities in America, being like for some, it's like, they're getting out there and they're doing it. I wonder if other indigenous tribes might be looking at them being like, you should not participate in that. If there's any like a culture clash within the indigenous.
I'd be curious about the conversation that they had.
Yeah.
To make that decision. The company the dance company was Native Pride Productions. So I'd be curious to dig into them a little bit more. And is it cross-cultural? Is it one particular tribe? What's their story? So again, is it better that they were there and just kind of shut, like, is this tokenism?
Mhm.
Is that what it is?
Right.
And
How did they even get in? Did they have to
Right.
fight to get in, or
Yeah.
were they invited?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I mean, I can only assume that every other float in the parade pays a bajillion dollars to
Right.
be represented and to have their float and have their brand and the copy and the whole thing. But
Right.
like, I almost don't want to know.
Yeah. So that was all of the things that kind of stood out. And I mean, I probably have a bit more on the list here, but like I was trying to come up with some positives.
Right.
And, you know, it was cool to see people celebrating and coming together. And there was like families and kids and parents and, you know, friends all just spending time together. And like, that was nice. That was good. Of course, you got a Pikachu balloon.
I got my Pikachu balloon.
So there's that, you know, and you could probably have that any day, but maybe not at that scale. But like, I did like, you know, it seemed that all of the floats, or most of the floats, were celebrating a story in pop culture that people like. You know, so there was the anime ones, they had the K-pop Demon Hunters.
That was great. That was probably the best part of the parade.
That was cool. Yeah. Seeing Huntrix perform, or if you could call them Huntrix, or like the...
That's what they call themselves, yeah.
Well, they were like the singers behind Huntrix,
Yeah.
because they themselves are Twice, or 3 singers from Twice. But either way, that was cool. And like, there's all these stories, you know, all the different floats represent different stories or shows, movies, whatever, in pop culture that are meaningful to people. And I thought that was really cool, like a celebration of story, because story has the capacity to move us. And we're shaped culturally by the stories that we tell ourselves. And so whatever's on Netflix and Disney and whatever's in pop culture, that's kind of like the story of the day in the moment, you know. But they do have the capacity to evolve our thinking, you know, depending on what's shared. And then you said this last one, which I liked, which is the other positive, which is that we need a day or more days for gratitude and rest. And the core thinking around Thanksgiving is it's supposed to be a day of gratitude.
And unification and rest and coming together with family and friends and celebrating and just taking this moment to be like, which is great. And that's wonderful. And
It should be that.
it should be that, yeah.
should
I
be
mean,
that.
honestly, like, for a lot of people, it's not that, because they're stressed out about family coming in and they're cooking and they're doing the whole thing, and you know, it's
Putting on a show?
Yeah, but it's very performative.
Right.
It can be anyway. And you know, if you're cooking for 8 hours straight and then eating for a half hour and then passing out, it's like, okay.
Right.
And then there's football, I think.
I wouldn't know.
I imagine. I imagine there's football.
There's probably football. Yeah, I would love to see more heart in Thanksgiving and all of these traditions or celebrations and holidays, and just like less superficiality. It felt really superficial, and it felt very centered in, just like the material consumerism, materialism, and there was less of a sense of what it could really be all about if we just shifted our thinking a little bit. So there's our video. I hope that was valuable, or maybe you have some thoughts. I don't know. Please share them in the comments if you have anything to say. And let us know also what else you might like to see us talk about, because it's an open canvas and we can paint whatever we want. Have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.